All right, guys. Interesting episode today. I'm not gonna say bittersweet because it's not. Like it'll be fine. But this is the last regular episode of me and Chris doing the show. So for the next few months, Chris is going to be gone on paternity leave. He's having a new bebe.
Yep.
So I'll be handling some solo episodes and some guests, maybe some people from our team, manufacturers, etc. But then when Chris gets back, I am stepping away from the Long Ash podcast. I'll still be here for a period, top 25 and, once in a while. But it's time for me to hand it over to Chris as I do more brand management stuff that is occupying more of my time than I'd like. It's fun, but this show I think requires a kind of a more steady hand and someone who's going to have the time and dedication to put into making it great and making it new, which Chris is going to be doing. He has some great ideas for how to take this show into the future. It has been stagnant on my part for at least the past year. So I'll still be back from occasion. He needs a guest, I'll hop on. Top 25s, our end of the year rants, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so after today, it'll just be me for a little bit, and then come mid-July, the show will be back in potentially a new format, that kind of stuff with Chris at the helm. So make sure everyone is still liking, commenting, and subscribing and listening. And our best to Christopher.
Thank you.
I think you're going to do very well with it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Because I started off just behind camera when you and Greg were doing it. And I think you and I have done more episodes than you and Greg.
Oh, by
if
far.
I'm not
at this
mistaken.
point.
Yeah,
by far.
So it's been fun, man. Sometimes I'm sitting here just hearing you talk cigars, right? And I'm kind of just sitting here learning as well. And then I'm like, I had a stupid little joke or whatever. But it's been a lot of fun, man.
You've been a very active participant. And listen, I was already 10 years into the industry when you started.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
And then in the time you've learned what I knew then, I now know the next level of stuff. So it's all about that, just about experience. And you're gonna do great.
I'm excited. I'm really
a great team here supporting you. And then all the guys downstairs, you'll be doing, videos with Andy and Bobby and me whenever you need it. And then doing what I did in the beginning, which is getting one-on-one time with the manufacturers, and that's how you learn. It is sometimes hearing me ask the questions is fine, but having the actual discussion with them.
Yeah.
Because it leads you down new avenues to find out what's really going on, find out what their actual inspiration is. That's how everything I know about this industry is through talking to people who are way more experienced than I am.
Yeah, I think specifically this podcast has led me to having like drinks, dinners when manufacturers come in and they say, hey, you guys want to go next door or something like that. And getting to sit and talk with them, I think that's really important. I think, not to flex too much, but most of the people who do email when they're coming up here, and they'll like, hey Nick, you have time? They have room for the podcast. Like that says something. That means something to us because they're watching and they're a fan of it, or they've been on it before and want to be on it again. I'm really excited to see what happens after our paternity leave. I think I have some cool stuff for you guys. And I think we'll be able to really continue this really fun adventure, endeavor together. So, but yeah, man, thanks for bringing me on when Greg left, because we could have easily been like, all right, we'll pivot to something else. But it's been a lot of fun. Obviously, the top 25 videos are the Cigar Aficionado episodes are my favorite. So I'll have to bring you back for that.
Yeah,
I'll need you. Yeah, we'll need for the aficionado list for sure. If you're too busy, because we always peel back the curtain a little bit and talk about how the top 25 process seems to get bigger every year in terms from our end and who's involved and whatnot. So, but yeah, man, I'm stoked.
Well, I'm very proud of you, and you're going to do very, very well with it.
Appreciate it.
And if you don't, well, then what are you going to do? All right. So with that being said, we got a little something, a little bit celebratory here.
Yes.
It looks like. Ooh, I just stabbed myself. A little influencer gift set from AUSA, and I think I know what it is. I'm not even on the tape here. Let's get in there. And I'm trying to do something like this with our next release, and then they do. I guarantee this is going to be extremely 10 times better than what I can put together. The team over at AUSA really is just the best when it comes to this. Okay, let's see. Oh, man. Oof. Easy. Easy. Oof. Come on. Come on. Pull the bottom of the box. Oh, my God. Jesus. We're going to need some pictures of this one, fellas.
Oh, yeah.
This is like a whole thing.
I'm pretty sure Steve has worked hard on.
Yeah, get that crap out of there. This is ridiculously awesome. So this is an influencer kit for the new Romeo y Julieta 150th anniversary, which will be officially launching whatever. It's been announced, but like the official unveiling will come at PCA in the coming week. Oh, jeez. Oliver just puts me to shame with this stuff, man. He really does. And Olivia. Oh, I gotta take this off. So the first thing here is when you open the top, you have this lovely interior. Did you ever shoot one of these, Steve?
I didn't shoot this one.
The other thing, the actual thing. Yeah. So this is like a version of like the humanoid's going to be released. But on the inside here, you see on the top level, you have a tin of what I believe is probably 3 cigars and a little bottle of what looks like Romeo Prosecco, which I will be taking home for my girlfriend.
Yeah, that was.
And then on the inside of the box here, you have Romeo y Julieta 150th anniversary, all the cigar information, a nice little story. What I'm interested in is what's going on underneath here. What's in this?
I would bet money. Ashtray, tools. Yep.
Ashtray. Beautiful ashtray, actually.
Ooh.
Ooh. That is very, very nice. Very, very nice. We'll make sure to get this. Can we shoot this, guys, after we're done here? But while we're here, let's push it, Chris. God, the amount of time going into this. Let's light up some of these cigars here.
Well, their Monte Cristo M influencer box, thank you, was really good too. So they're just stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, listen. When you got a marketing budget. Well, this one was, oh, it's like a little pin.
Is it a key or a pen?
No, it's a pin. Oh, yeah, put that on. Might as well celebrate. And I know we had this on an episode already, but special occasion.
Yes.
It really is a beautiful looking cigar. I know it's not the best marketing wise, but there is something about if you're going to the trade show and you're having something so special, like, I don't know. I always just thought, like, save the unveiling for the trade show. But everyone does it. They send out press releases and everything. Altadis is a little different, like with these kits, because you can send these kits out, a month ahead of time. But generally, I always thought that, like, if you already announce what you're releasing, the only people who are going to come to your booth are the people who are going to, like, already know what it is and are going to buy that. But, if Tatawahi just announces we have a new release, but we're not going to tell you what it is yet, you have to go to their booth and see what it is. And it draws attention. But I don't know. I don't really know how any of this works. I would like to go to the trade show and get, like, surprised by things, but it's weeks ahead of time of press releases. Like, now it gives us time to prepare POs and see what we want to bring in. So, like, from a retail standpoint, it's effective, but there is something I enjoy about, like, the surprise of going there and being like, here's our new release, here's a sample, here's what it looks like, here's how much it is, here's how many we're making, and kind of getting the information there.
Well, I know at least a few weeks ago, or maybe at this point a month ago, I saw, like, on either Half Wheel or somewhere about, like, Romeo, set to release the 150th. So you have, you want to build up hype, you want to build up steam and hype and all that to get, I guess, like the consumers ready for this to come out. But yeah, I agree. I think when it comes to, the whole, I've never been to PCA. You've gone a couple times while I was here, and so I just hear stories from you guys and whatnot. The allure of PCA is going there, meeting with vendors, seeing, like, they have booths, they have show, like, I remember when the Spectre, you were talking about it with Sean last week, the Spectre, or was it the Spectre that came out in 2019 at the PCA? Is that yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, that display was great. Altadis has won booth of the year a few times because of what they've done, and, with the Warhawk and bringing in, setting that up. So yeah, I would think that you would want to wait for that. But I don't know, maybe it's to get now retailers, retail shops also kind of like...
I think from a business perspective, it makes sense to announce it and get all the information out there ahead of time. Again, the show is weird because we all still get excited for it. We all still go to it. It's a great time to network, especially with companies. Like, there's some companies that come through here like once a quarter, and we meet with them and we plan out what we want to do. But then there's some that we really don't. So it's a great time to do that. However, what the essence of the show used to be was to showcase the new product for the first time, and then to kind of have, especially for the smaller guy, these kind of deals so they can come in, they can, purchase a decent amount of product that can last them 6 months to a year. It was before, really it started before, like, email and everything. So with all the advent of technology and communication, I mean, some people get PCA deals, a month before the show. And like, hey, here's the deals we're going to have. So we can have everything ready and even purchase before we even go to the show. The show still serves a purpose, and it can serve a purpose. I'm not sure what it is yet exactly. I don't want to say networking, but there is something important about the show, but it's not what used to be important about the show.
Well, cigar media goes, right?
Cigar media goes, so you get that's the other thing is, like, the media is so heavily involved. I mean, this is my first year going to the show, not as like a media member, person, personality. But everyone knows exactly what's coming out, exactly from whom. They do they literally do an article like per booth, which is, there's hundreds of booths there. So everyone is so inundated with information. I think for the mom and pop and the brick and mortar, I think it still serves a version of its original purpose. So they might not be buying direct from a Fuente or whoever, but they can go and see the new product, see what it's like, etc., and then they can go to their wholesaler and be like, I want the, And for more boutique manufacturers, listen, Nick and Steve and John, they can't go to like every brick and mortar shop in the country to like hold an event or FaceTime with the owners and do this and that. So it is a good time for that to happen. For the mom and pop shops to be heard and to get their FaceTime with with either the reps or the manufacturers and work out a better deal for themselves. I am excited to go. I do hate traveling. I hate flying so much. I'm already dreading it. Just the flight. But then, and it's also a long trip. I mean, usually my trips are,
2-3 days.
2-3 nights. This is 5.
Yeah.
Just about. I leave Friday morning. I come home Tuesday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Like 5 days.
Yeah. No, that's.
But what's good about that is I don't have to worry about flying again for like a couple of days. Because usually, like I was just when I was just in Tampa last week. I like landed on like at noon on a Friday and I was leaving like 9 a.m. on a Saturday. Like I was I was mostly in an airport.
Really quick turnaround, yeah.
But this will give me some time to actually like go and get get stuff done.
So you said something just earlier that's pretty interesting of like you're not right. You said something like you're not sure of how PCA can not spice things up, but do things differently or. Listen,
I don't know like. The purpose of the PCA show when it was put together was it was a trade show. But usually trade shows are in industries that aren't as intimate. if you're having like an auto show, car enthusiasts and dealers are coming from around the world, but like they don't normally sit with like the head designer of Ferrari.
Yeah.
Most of this industry is already on a first name basis. Everyone is, reps are in and out of all the shops and everything like that. So there's already an intimacy kind of baked in there. And then with Half Wheel and Aficionado kind of laying out these releases a month ahead of time, for the bigger guys, I don't know. I still think it serves part of that purpose, but I think that there's something that bigger that can be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not sure what it is. I mean, I do remember they tried to do a consumer day one year, and everyone was like, fuck no.
Yeah, I was going to mention
that caused a lot of problems.
Yeah, no, I was going to mention, like, what if they did a consumer day, but not leave it open to, like, I guess make it more limited. Or if you're like, I don't know if this would even work. Let's say you're looking to start into the cigar business, whether it's a brick and mortar store, whether it's, your own companies, things of that nature, inviting people there to kind of just see how it goes. I wouldn't do like, I don't know the numbers that PCA brings in terms of the amount of people that go there.
I think it's usually like 2,000 or 3,000.
Okay. So I would say if you make it consumer if you do consumer here and there, maybe one day out of the 5-day convention, I think that could work, but like you keep it limited, like you keep it very, very limited, and it's not, you wouldn't use the same as like, oh, they're media members too. You would keep them as just consumers coming in, seeing, or you do have a day where it's consumers and just publication, cigar publications, right? And then the next day can be, retailer, so you're not like going,
so here's
you're not going super, everyone all at once, because I would assume, like if I went to PCA as a media member, of course I'm going to try, and this is what you and Greg did, successfully interviewed damn near everyone there in 2019.
30 interviews in 3 days.
So if you're a media member, maybe you pick and choose who's available for interviewing 5 minutes here and there. But in a media member, I would assume you're just covering the convention as, you're covering the convention as a whole, right? It would be great to get exclusive interviews here and there, but you're covering it. So I don't want to say you could basically be a fly on the wall, right? That's how I would look at it.
Right.
Consumer, it could be a little bit different where if a booth has an experience, you sign up for maybe to look at 3 to 5 booths or something like that. I know Davidoff, the year you went, had like an experience there, like I think their booth, they set up like, I think soil there that's in the Yamasa.
Yeah. They had a different section for each of their Davidoff black labels.
So like that would be,
Scudio.
to me, I don't know if that's a really cool setup. I think that would be good for, retailers coming in and being like, okay, that's a pretty neat thing. But I think like retailers are going in really to talk numbers and really to talk about how can we get some in our store. So, that might be able to spice up, just change it a little bit differently, but I don't know.
So here's the problem with the consumer day. First, there's a bunch of people who are like industry adjacent. Maybe they like work for a store or they do, whatever, that like really shouldn't be at the show and somehow get into the show. I've seen people that were like friends of mine. I'm like, how did you get here? And they like, they're friends with a very small manufacturer and they're like able to get a badge. But they're there basically as consumers. They're just walking around seeing this stuff. The problem with the consumer day, and this is why there was immense pushback on it, is it's not a consumer event. You're right, it's to talk numbers and business and set up strategy and everything like that. So if I have a meeting with the guys at Drew Estate for an hour to go over strategy for the next year, which involves millions and millions of dollars, and I'm not trying to insult our customers here, but having Joey Baloney, who's trying to just get a picture with Jonathan Drew or like get an autograph or wants to talk to him for 10 minutes, it's like it's not the place for that. There's plenty of events that they can go to get that. Also, the added cost for the manufacturer, because they bring samples. They want the retailers to try their cigars. Very rarely do they not. Sometimes like the cigar might have not just been ready, or in the case of this year, what happened with AJ. So there's extenuating circumstances. But they were trying to pitch like 700 consumers to go to this thing. That's 700 more free cigars the manufacturers had to like put together. And it's one thing if they're giving me a free cigar or you a free cigar, because you're smoking that and you're like, all right, I'm going to go buy this. So that free cigar translates into sales. Most of these consumers, it's not like they're just going to grab as much as they can. Doesn't mean they're going to go home and buy them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It becomes too much of a commercial event, and there's already a lot of those. This is really the only major, except for like TAA, but that's even more limited, where it's not consumer facing. You've got to remember, it's easy for me and you, or CI, to schedule a meeting with whoever, whenever we want. So I could see how for us, we're like, oh yeah, let the consumers in. We don't need that much time. Like, we already have our stuff worked out. Let them go do what they got to do. But for a majority of the industry, which is these mom and pop shops, they don't get that kind of time with these guys throughout the year. So it's important for them. So then to have like consumers, like a couple of fanboys, and it's like, hey man, I have a small shop. I need this 20 minutes with Steve Saka to schedule an event or hopefully do a private label. Like, it's for my business. Mm-hmm. Like, you just want to get an autograph and do a whatever. You know what I mean? There was also like how they were pitching it was like certain retailers would sell tickets, but we couldn't make any money on them. But then we were responsible for like all the people who were there. It was too much of like a logistical nightmare. But I will agree with you in that like it's an idea. And they need ideas. I'm excited for this. This is the first one where I believe all Big Four, AUSA, Davidoff, Drew Estate, and General, or STG, will be there. Because I don't believe Davidoff went last year, since 2019. So in 2020, because of some issues that the Big Four companies had with how PCA was handling the show and rising costs for booths and everything like that, they were going to essentially sit out of the 2020 one. That one ended up getting canceled anyway because of COVID. So then they sat out of the 21 and 22. Yeah. Then by 23, like some of them started going back in a small capacity because, again, it is great to network there. And I don't think that they're going to go back with the same, like Drew Estate having like the big bridge. I don't think they're going back like that.
No.
I think that they're going to maintain a more what's the word I'm looking for? Moderate booth space and everything.
I think there's buzz around this one because it's in a different city.
I hate Vegas. Listen, I'm a capitalist, and Las Vegas is way too capitalist for me. Like what they're doing with the A's stadium, it's only going to be like 33,000 seats, and most of those are going to be like VIP and everything is just about tourism and for that entire team. Unfortunately, the art of baseball is gone. They are no longer a baseball team. They are an entertainment corporation. And that's true for a lot of people, but like, listen, the Yankees still try to win. Like the Dodgers still try to. I don't think the A's are going to give a shit about winning anymore.
Well, there's, with other baseball stadiums, there's more, history in the stadium. Even when they went to, new Yankee Stadium, they still had, the plaques in the outfield with the retired players and things like that. But yeah, no, I've never been to Vegas. I mean, I would like to go once just to say I did it. It just doesn't seem appealing to me. No. Bringing, like you said, bringing sports franchises there is just really a tour. Like, I feel like Jerry Jones and the Cowboys would fit perfect in Las Vegas because players have come out and said, while we're working out, there's tours of the stadium, and you could do a tour of the gym and see them working out like caged animals almost. Yeah. Like that's how, I don't know how the Vegas, I think the Raiders Stadium has like full-on restaurants and stuff like that in there. I mean, it's all about what's the new next gimmick.
So say what you want. That's kind of why I like Steve Cohen a little bit. It's because he's a billionaire. He doesn't need the Mets to make himself more money. He's like, I just want to make them win.
Yeah.
So I don't care. Like, I'm going to spend $300 million on Juan Soto or however much he spent. He's like, I don't need to like upcharge everyone. I don't need to add a fucking roller coaster. He's like, I do not care about that. I'm going to spend money to buy wins.
Yeah, it's gimmicky.
And the Dodgers are kind of, I mean, I've never been to Dodger Stadium, but I like they're similar. Like, we'll spend a ton of money to buy, like, but we don't care about.
Our stadium is just this historical.
Yeah, we don't need to make it like an entertainment destination. Stop doing that.
I think that's what what's his name has done with the Clippers, Steve Ballmer.
Yeah.
You know, because he comes from the tech world and all that, and like now they have a crazy stadium, and they're not sharing a stadium with the Lakers, but it's just kind of like I don't know, it's gimmicky, and you know,
I think all of this is incredibly gimmicky. And guess what? The biggest sport in the world is still soccer, and I'm sure, and I think one of the owners of like Man U is like I imagine that a ton of talk has been had with like football, soccer owners, like, oh well, you know, if we knock down this stadium and build it like outside of London, we can do that, and they're just like, no, like that's not. These teams are for these towns. And now, say what you want about what happened in Oakland, whether or not they were, you know, listen, California is just very expensive to be in, and if they weren't going to reach a deal, I understand. I mean, listen. The same thing happened with the Dodgers when they left New York. It wasn't really their fault. They kind of got forced out by Robert Moses. He wanted them to move to Queens, and they're like, no, if the Dodgers have to stay in Brooklyn, and they didn't want to do it, and so they left. But I imagine this is more of the guy who owns the A's, just like didn't want to be in Oakland anymore.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. When the Dodgers left, it was heartbreaking. And all of the essence of baseball. I think baseball has more of a connection with localities, I think, than football really does. I think college football has more of a connection with, like, your local area. Because, like, listen, there's Cowboys fans all over the country. There's not really any, like, L.A. fans, you know what I mean? There's not really, like, a diehard, like, Chargers group. But, you know, the Cowboys, the Jets and Giants, the Patriots, the Packers, like, I guarantee the Packers can make a lot more money like moving out of Green Bay. Like, oh, we're going to move this to Nashville or we're going to move it to Austin. But you lose, you know, I will say the Packers are probably one of the teams that has, in the NFL, that has really like attached itself, like, because I think they're owned by the fans. I don't think they don't have like an owner.
No, they don't.
And I'm like, that's how it should be for everything. And listen, the Packers still make plenty of money. Like, they're still able to get the best quarterbacks ever every single time they draft one. It's like, the money's not a problem for the Packers, but it's people who are not about the sport and they see it as an investment, and I hate that. I hate investments. I hate people who buy houses as investments. It's a home. It's a place to live. It's not an investment. Not everything is fucking Moneyball or Wall Street. Some things are just what they are. It's a baseball team. We want to go see them play baseball. And they're going to lose it. And I guarantee that there's the sell of merch and everything. Like, the A's are not going to be, like, not they're not going to be good because, like, you know, when they made the Golden Knights there. But the difference is that the Golden Knights, it's the Golden Knights, right?
Yes, yeah.
They made that team in Las Vegas, and they're like, this is your team, Las Vegas. Like, we're building this team for you. Instead of the Raiders and Oakland.
They've just inherited everything from Oakland.
Inherited it, and, like, so no one in Las Vegas who actually lives there feels a connection to it. And then the Oakland fans, like, we're not going to follow you to Vegas. We don't give a shit. We'll start watching, you know, the San Francisco Giants or something like that. Like, we'll go across town.
I can't see any diehard fans in Vegas going to the A's games. You know, I think, like, I didn't know, you know, your first time hearing about the seat, you know, the attendance, the low attendance in the stadium, and or like the limited attendance, I guess, and most of them are going to be like you said, like box press.
The Yankees did that shit too when they built the new Yankee Stadium. Now, it wasn't as bad because this was almost 20 years ago, and I think the new stadium was 2009 or 2010 or 2008 maybe. But they did the same thing where they, like, the new stadium in terms of like general seating, much smaller than the original stadium, and a lot of it was like these luxury boxes and what, you know, whatever. And, like, the prices of these games, I mean, I was looking at tickets, and I realized the World Cup is, like, you know, a once-in-a-lifetime thing. For, like, at Giant Stadium, didn't even matter. It could be Costa Rica playing Nigeria, like, whoever it is. nosebleeds were like $800. I'm like, you guys are gonna gouge.
Yeah.
The world's, and when I say the world's like poorest sport, I mean most of the fan base of this sport around the world is below the poverty line, and it's like all they have. They love this game,
Yeah.
and you're gonna charge them fucking $800 to watch a game. Like it's people like sports owners like this sicken me. It's disgusting. Yankees tickets right now for like pretty decent seats, $200 because they're doing well, right? Like I hate it, and I realize that it's capitalism and they want to make money. But I'm like, but that shouldn't be the goal. The New York Yankees should not be operated as a business. It should be operated as a team with the goal to win. Otherwise, you take everything out of the sport. You just do. It's one of the reasons I started watching MMA recently, because there's at least some semblance there still of like, the only thing I can do here is win. There's nothing else I can do besides win. There's no like, oh, well, his exit velocity was this much.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. If you don't win, nobody cares. And even Moneyball, Billy Beane even said it. If you lose the last game of the season, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter all your analytics. It doesn't matter how many home runs Judge hit or how many times this guy got on, Volpe got on base or whatever, or what his exit velocity was. If you lose the last game of the season, it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And I have a challenge to the fans. Stop going back. If you have a team that just heartbreaks you and the owner's a shit, like the guy who owns the Knicks, isn't he a piece of garbage?
Yeah, like James Dolan he's an interesting one for sure. I don't know, he'll kick fans out for like, I guess, I don't know. It's so weird for me. Like if you're at a stadium and if you're unhappy with your team, what's the difference between letting your team hear it on the internet versus in person?
Right.
He's been known to like not let former Knicks players in Madison Square Garden because he owns the building. So yeah, I mean, but the thing is, if the Knicks were continuing to only win 20 games and like for the past few years, people would be calling for him to leave. But they've been winning. So I think fans who are accustomed to winning, it's a mixture of things. All the fans that went to Oakland A games and they're moving them. Yeah, the stadium was maybe old as hell and the attendance rating was terrible because your team wasn't good. But there's some people out there that are still like, man, I grew up on the A's. Like,
right.
They're still always going to be Oakland.
And there's a thing, you can have. So there is something where like some of the old families that have owned these teams forever, like the Steinbrenners or the Maras or the guys that own. I think the Maras are cousins of the people who own the Steelers. I think they're cousins. But I'm sure they have other investments and other businesses. But like their priority is like Mara's like priority is like the Giants have to be good to win to make money. He doesn't have anything else. It's not like an investment opportunity for him. It's like we need to win and then we will make more money. But then a lot of billionaires who buy into these teams, like look what happened with the Dallas Mavericks. Now you had somebody in Mark Cuban who was a billionaire who bought them, and he bought them cheap, but was such a fan, and I actually really like Mark Cuban, and was like, no, like our goal is to win. Our goal is to sell tickets, get people in here, and win. And they did. They won, 2 championships under Cuban?
Yes. No, one. Just one.
With Dirk. But then he was still the owner last year when they got into the finals.
Yes,
right? Okay.
yeah.
And I said the same with Steve Cohen. Say what you want about Steve Cohen. He's like trying to make them win. Like that's his goal. He's like, I want the Mets to win a World Series. Like I don't care about anything else. I have enough money to last me 10 lifetimes. And especially if the team is still like profitable. It's one thing if the team is actively losing money, but as long as at the end of the day, the team made more than the team spent. Like I don't care if I break. It's like Joe Rogan's comedy club. He's like, as long as I break even on this thing, it doesn't cost me money. I don't care. I'll pay the acts whatever. Like I just want to break. If I just break even, and that would be me. If I was a billionaire, like a quadruple billionaire, and I bought a sports franchise, my only financial worry is like I need to at least break even at the end of the year, and then I'm good. I don't care. I don't need to see a rise in sale. I don't need more money. I don't, except if it would be to purchase more talent. So, but then I think what the Dallas Mavericks did, I think that's so obviously like was a dumb move. And I think the new owners are trying something fishy. I think they're going to try something fishy. It was such a bad sports move. I don't know. I'm not happy with the state. And then even what they did to college football with like the NIL and the transfer portal, it's like everything is just about money now, and the sport aspect is slowly going away, and it really is a shame. It really
I
is
think
a shame.
NIL is for the kids and the players. Obviously, it's not ruining their career, but it's also like, let's say kids are getting NIL money and they might not make it professionally. So now when they get NIL money, how are you going to, if you're making millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, how are you going to now invest that correctly? You want to make sure that they invest that correctly.
I think you're going to start
kids are bouncing around. Like the NIL portal, the transfer portal opened up in either the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 during the men's tournament. So like coaches who were coaching in this have to worry about that now while doing this. Like it's just crazy. It's a crazy thing.
They should have a thing where the same with like free agency. It's like you can't do it after a certain time. Like this is the time, and it really shouldn't be in the middle of a season. I saw Archie Manning is leaving.
He is?
I heard a rumor. I don't know how deep that he's going to go to Ole Miss.
Wow, that's where Eli went.
Yeah. But, and listen, good on the kids. They were getting screwed. Let them get their money. But I think you're going to start seeing a lack of talent at the professional level because guys that had the talent and could have made it to professional, the drive that they had, like, I need to do this so I can get out of poverty or I can take care of this and whatever, get my check. They're going to have that by junior year of college. All right, well, now I made $6 million. I don't need to play hard to go to the NFL. I don't need the NFL anymore. And so it's like I just think you're going to have some people who would have been extreme talents and would have gone to like make money. And you already see it in the NFL. Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill, like players moving around just because of the money. It's like, dude, you have more money than you know what to do with already. If you invested it smartly.
Some of them just feel slighted and all that.
I know. And listen, you don't ever want to be, completely underpaid. But some of the best athletes of all time were not I don't think Michael Jordan. I think maybe his last year, because he was on 1-year contracts. I think maybe his last year he was the highest paid basketball player. Every other year he was not.
No.
Somebody else was. And guess what? Those guys never fucking won.
Yeah.
They didn't win.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think, listen, if I was, a left tackle for the New York Giants and I was making $75,000 a year, yeah, I'd have some trouble with it. But if I was being paid $6 million a year and take half of it out for taxes and all that, I'm making $3 million a year. If I'm investing it smartly and everything, and I think that our team has a championship path, that means way more to me than going down to Tampa and getting the bag.
Yeah.
Now, your team screws with you. They treat you bad. You don't like the coach. Okay, those things can play into it. But I don't know. This chasing of the bag, and it never works out for them. They never win when they chase it.
I think a really good...
Stephon Diggs is now on his third team.
Yeah.
Because I think he's
Patriots now.
Yeah,
sorry. Wait,
he was on Houston.
Fourth.
So he was on.
So he got drafted and played for the Vikings. Then he went to the Bills. Then he was 1 year in Houston, and now he's with New England.
Yeah. I think Tyreek Hill's trying to get out of Miami.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's the perfect example of, and he'll deny that he's not happy, but there's been videos of him being like, I want out. You decided to, and maybe it's because he has 3 kids with a few different women. He needs the money, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, he does need the money.
Yeah, you forego kind of like cementing yourself as one of the best football players by leaving Kansas City to go to Miami, and then for you to say like, oh, I've seen Tua do certain things better than Pat Mahomes, and like just certain things, getting in trouble legally, with the law. Of course, everyone wants to play in Miami, right? Or in a warm weathered city. Like that's without a doubt, of course.
Wide receiver. Here's the thing.
But I just think that he chose the money, and that's all on him. That's fine, more than legacy. And I think more often than not, people will choose money over getting rings because you have a guy who I think is a complete idiot in terms of having a podcast. Gilbert Arenas, former NBA player, he's like, no one who remembers Robert Horry. He has 7 rings. Who really remembers him? You think Robert Horry would rather be, no rings and $300 million like net worth, or 7 rings and like $100 million net worth? And I think that's why people specifically with basketball, like you, Derek, or why they don't watch it. Derek doesn't like it and my friends don't like it because it's like you have a bunch of prima donnas who won't play, who get paid, and they use the word soft, right? I think some older players are a little jealous of like how the money is coming in now, right? But I don't know, for me, like, give me the accolades. Of course I would want to have $300 million, so like generationally, like my grandkids would be set.
Right.
But I think if you look back at the history of the game, and if rings are important to people, then they're like, well, Bill Russell had 12, Robert Horry had 7. Like, that's an important part of history. Yeah,
they remember.
That's an
greatness.
important part of history.
Yeah,
and I think that's what judges. I feel like sometimes they're handing out the Hall of Fame to a bunch of people, especially in the NBA. They're handing it out. Like, I don't think Eli will ever be a Hall of Famer now. Maybe 3rd ballot if he didn't get it in this time. But people are like, oh, Eli's not Hall of Fame worthy. Well, he's top 10 in most categories, and he won 2 championships. What else does his pedigree, like, what else does he need to do to get into the Hall? Yeah. Right? But players like Tyreek are probably think right now, because wide receivers are the biggest divas. I'm a first ballot for sure. Well, are you? Are you though?
What team ever won a Super Bowl just because they had a tremendous wide receiver? I mean, the one time, what's his name? Tom Brady had like a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Look what the Giants did.
Was Randy Moss, and they lost. Like, and I'm not saying quarterback is the most important. Obviously, Tom Brady lost twice to Eli, and we know who a better quarterback was. But like wide receivers, I think Tyreek thought like, oh, I'll show them. I'll go to Miami, and then Pat won 2 Super Bowls and got into a 3rd 3 years in a row literally without anybody.
And Travis Kelce elevated his game because that was his number 1 target now.
Yeah, so and it was now you're down there with Tua, who can't stay awake, the poor guy.
Right, he can't stay healthy.
Yeah, the state of sports. I hope we have more, and I don't know all the ins and outs of a Steve Cohen or a Mark Cuban, but I hope we have more guys like that who are interested in and at least attempting to preserve the integrity of the game and going for wins, because you owe it to your fans to win. The fans do not give a shit about your fucking amazing hot dog or the Johnny Rockets or that you have a roller coaster. They care if you win. Yeah. There is no team that is, with the exception of like the Cowboys, there is no team. But here's the thing: the Cowboys are never actually terrible. They just break your heart. But there is no team that has an awesome stadium with all cool stuff to do
and winning
and are terrible that actually has fans. Yeah. I guarantee that where the Chargers play in LA is probably like an awesome stadium. Nobody's showing up. They do not care because they stink. Same thing with Carolina and Jackson. Those are like newer stadiums. Those aren't old stadiums from the 40s. Those are newer stadiums.
Yeah.
Who's showing up? No one. You stink. That doesn't matter what you got going on there. So let's hope that
you can kind of like track it back to maybe because I was living there, Jacksonville, with the biggest screen at the time, a pool in their stadium, all that. It's a gimmick,
and I think rings.
And I think unless if they're trying, I don't know what their marketing plan is. With these things that come into stadiums. Are they attracting younger crowds to come? Are they attracting families to come? Like, what ballpark doesn't is it the Milwaukee ballpark that has like an amusement park in the outfield?
I think so, yeah.
Or like slides. And so I guess, okay, you can entertain your kids there and all that. But like to me, like going to a game, and it might be worth the price of admission if these things are included in that. But I mean, you bring a kid to the game to watch the game. Like, I'm not the biggest baseball fan, but there is nothing like going to a baseball stadium, even minor league, that's like, man, like this is
it.
This is awesome.
Yeah. It's American.
Yeah, like this is hot dog, beer, chicken tenders, you sit down, sweat your ass off. And you're just watching it live. There's no other experience like that. Like, okay, you go to the Garden during a playoff game, you go to the Super Bowl.
So that's the thing. That's why I like a Spike Lee or someone who's like, I'm at the Knicks every game I could possibly be. Instead of these celebrities who show up like it's the biggest playoff game, and then you see Kim Kardashian like courtside. But the celebrities who are like diehard fans, like I come to every game, or like Bradley Cooper, like he goes to all the Eagles games.
Yeah.
And not even since when they were good, when they were bad. Like Silver Linings Playbook, I think they were like bad at that time.
Yeah.
But no, it's let's hope that there's a brighter future than I see for sports. But
but it's like it's just the gimmick stuff bleeds into so many different things too.
It does. So there you have it, my friends. Thank you very much for watching. We will not have an episode next week because I will be in PCA for most of it. But I'll have a solo episode following that to give you kind of a wrap up, and then I'll do some solo ones, some interviews, get some guys from the team up here while Chris is on paternity leave. But you will see me again, so don't worry about that. But the last official time as the duo, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And as always,
keep it lit.
You got to start saying it.
I'm gonna.
Take it easy, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.